So that's it. After 56 games, the Sharks' 30th season is in the books. And wow, did they lay an absolute egg. We'll talk about this game. Oh, Lordy. We'll talk about this season. Ah, fuck. And we'll see what's holding the future up for the Sharks. Ah, shit. Right now on Teal Town After Dark. Good evening, everyone. It is May 12th, 2021. The Sharks lose. Did they even show up? Not even sure. I think Marc-Edouard Vlasic's already on his plane back to Quebec. By a final of 6-0 over the Vegas Golden Knights. Welcome to Teal Town After Dark. You know it. You love it. You've been here all season, and we appreciate you joining us here. This is your live, interactive Sharks post-game. So chat with us and fellow Sharks fans, and heck, hockey fans everywhere, join us in. If you want to laugh at us, might as well. Why not? Chat with us and fellow Sharks fans and hockey fans on the page or the app. And, of course, follow us on the social, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Hit that subscribe button to YouTube, SoundCloud, Reddit, Discord, and find everything at tealtownusa.com. Good evening, everyone. I am Puck Guy 14. That is not AJ Strong. That is Marky Mark SJS.
Hello.
And also joining us tonight, it is Al Martinet.
Hey, how you doing?
I've had better seasons, man. Then again, I went through 11-71-2. That was pretty bad as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm.
Go ahead.
This has been. I mean, this is the effort they put on all season. I don't know if you want to get into it already, but like, this is a pathetic effort all season. I mean, against Vegas, another losing effort. I think they're now 16-0-1 since they've entered the league. So, yeah, I mean, it's not much of a rivalry unless you include that one playoff round. That was really epic, but it's really just been single-handedly Vegas all the way around.
To a matter of fact, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they have one regulation victory in the regular season for the Sharks. Everything else has been in overtime. I think. I want to say all three of them have been Logan Couture, if I'm not, But it is what it is, folks, and we're here to break it down. Somehow we're going to break this game down. Sharks lose 6-0. It was ugly early. It was ugly often, and a lot of don't want to be here. And if you don't want to be here and don't show up for a game like this, I don't know. If you're playing for your damn job, it looks like you guys really don't want to be here. So, first period, Alex Pietrangelo with a rocket backhander that Melnichuk, made it 1-0. That turns out to be the freaking game-winning goal. Kolesar with a goal just not even 4 minutes later to make it 2-0. I think at this point the shots were 12-2 in favor of Vegas at the time. And Mark, as I come to you, after 20 minutes, Vegas was out shooting the Sharks 20-6. It looked like,
it was setting the stage for a very long night, and one that definitely was going to favor Vegas. And despite the fact that Melnichuk didn't look very good in the first period, he still had a 90 save percentage because he faced that many shots. So, yeah, it was just one-sided, and that pretty much was the way the rest of the night carried through.
Yeah, and that's nice to see, but, Vegas, kudos to you. I mean, you gotten everything. You paid $500 million to sit out the expansion draft, get everything handed to you. GM's like, I don't know what to do with an expansion draft. Boy, I can't wait for them to do Seattle in a couple of months. But Al, I mean, not show up again.
This team has a lot of forward depth issues. I don't even blame this on the goaltender performance. It's just we can't get the puck out. We can't support our goaltending. And, like we had, 8 shots through the second period through this, and that's just not acceptable. The best shot we had all day was when Marleau had that breakaway where he totally fanned on it. And entering today's game, we were kind of hoping that Marleau might have a game-winning goal, because this is the only team that he hasn't had a game-winning goal against. But even that, it just seemed like Vegas wasn't really playing against the Sharks. They were playing against Colorado, who they are really competing for that President's Trophy.
Yeah, both of them, and kudos to them. They're both teams handed to you. Hell of a team, hell of a roster. Great management. You've done a heck of a job throughout all of this, and it's just frustrating. We knew this was going to be a tough year. We knew it was going to be bad. April did this team in, and honestly, it's just like, wow. It's just frustrating. You can use all the excuses you want, but guys, come on.
Yeah, and we can get into it more a little bit later, but I think tonight and the last few weeks of play show how far this team is really off from the top teams in the division. And I looked it up during the game. The Sharks against Vegas, Colorado, and Minnesota this season were, I think, 5-17-2.
Oh, God.
So if you look at the top 3 teams in the division, there's just absolutely no competition there where you can say the Sharks are stacking up against these teams. And I didn't hear the full Doug Wilson interview earlier, but it sounds like the franchise just doesn't look at the team the way the fans are looking at the team right now, because this team is a long way off from competing with Vegas, Colorado, and even now the Wild.
I mean, yeah. And that's the thing, is that now you're having teams that are going to be leapfrogging you. And it's like, and granted, I will give full kudos to Doug Wilson for keeping the window open as long as he did. I mean, he came in 2003, had a pretty similar, team to right now to work with, and actually came, and got that team to overachieve, get, within 6 wins of the Cup in his first year. And to have that from 2004 to 2019, a 15-year run, the only thing that's missing is the big shiny thing and their names engraved on the cup. Let's get to a couple of super chats, by the way, because tonight's the last show for After Dark. I know Pucknologist will be going on Sunday, but we also want to give you all the love tonight, because tonight we're venting out as much as possible, probably as much as you guys have all season long. So we'll start off with Burge 7F91, a $5 super chat donation. And super chats are donations to the show. They come back and help us out and make the ends meet and help us out, upgrading stuff and keeping everything so that way nobody's paying for all this, But Burge 7F91. So Doug Wilson owns the Sharks as Mario Lemieux owns the Penguins. Didn't the Sharks go bankrupt in the early 2000s? Why his future so secure?
15 straight years in the playoffs. He's been consistent with his GMing approach, but in the last 4 years he's changed, signing long contracts like Vlasic, Jones, EK65. It's really just been this last 4 years that I've really blemished his record.
Yeah, I know AJ's talked about it on the Technologist about it, a number of times how Doug Wilson's only missed 15, 20, 21, which is great. But if you break it down into the last 5 years, you've now missed the playoffs 3 out of the last 6 years.
Yeah.
And yes, one year that was a trip to the Stanley Cup final, Mark, and that was a wonderful time. You and I were both at a Stanley Cup final game, and it pains to see how rough this team has fallen.
Yeah, it really does. Like, to see a team that was in the Stanley Cup final, had the unfortunate matchup with the Penguins that year, because I think we could have beaten the Lightning had they advanced.
Mm-hmm.
And then a couple years later, we're in the conference final, a couple of games from the Stanley Cup final, and we have all the injury issues. So you look at Wilson's tenure, and the guy's done some amazing work. He's gotten out of players that we didn't want to have. He's brought in stars for pennies on the dollar.
Yep.
He's done a great job, but where we've lacked during his tenure is obviously in the drafting department with the first few rounds. And then I think with him just giving out too much term with these contracts. And I'm not even really against keeping him. I just don't like that if he thinks this team is ready to compete again next year. Like, we need major changes. I'm talking 3 to 4 probably big time players that don't just grow on trees, right? This team needs a lot more help.
Yeah.
Yep.
Go ahead, Al.
No, I mean, like, absolutely right.
Gotcha. All right. Moving on to the second period here. By the way, Rob, with a super chat donation for $20. Appreciate it, Rob. Thank each and every one of you on air in the chat for making this crappy season a bit more enjoyable. Here's to another good season. Go Sharks, Giants, and Niners. Yeah, I think the focus kind of turns on to that, or you're a hockey crazy, mad loving about this game. You can't stop but torment yourself with the playoffs starting as early as Saturday. But in the second period, well, Vegas had the worst lead in hockey. That's right. A 2-0 lead is usually called the worst lead in hockey, in case you guys didn't know that. But in the second period, Will Carrier makes it, 3-0. Then, Jonathan Mucho Salt, stop wasting my time on my Instagram, makes it 4-0. And that's for those of you who remember the playoffs last year and such. But a lot more of the same. And of course, Mark, you hit it on the head. The probably the best play all night for the Sharks going in was Patty having that chance and kind of reminiscing about the glory days of Patty.
Imagine if he had scored on that. That would have at least made one redeeming quality of this night. That would have been a beautiful moment, scoring in what could be his last game in the NHL or with the Sharks.
Yeah.
It absolutely should be. He still has the skating, ability that he's always had, but his hands aren't quite there as it used to be.
Yeah, it definitely looks like he's got his skates. Which there was no takers at the trade deadline for Patty, and that it kind of makes you wonder. And there was one more lap that he took out at the end of there, but it's.
I mean, Pittsburgh traded for Marleau last year,
Yeah.
So I think many teams are probably scared away from how bad Pittsburgh was eliminated last year. So I don't think I don't think there was any market for Marleau.
And honestly, unless it's like a sweetheart deal to go back to Toronto, I can't see it. And I think Toronto, doesn't even have a hole in their line to fill in. Kevin Lacey in the chat. Oh, let me get back to that super chat donation though. John, really want to thank you for that. Let me get back up here because that's not fair to you. But I'll let you guys chew on this from Kevin Lacey. Marleau will only be back if the Sharks find they have holes in their lineup like these past 2 seasons.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with that. I could see If they think they've got a fourth line hole or a third line hole, then maybe bring him back, especially if they don't get the players they want in the off season.
Right.
But yeah, at that point, you might be holding back a young player from being in the lineup. So I don't know if that's the best move.
The only landing spot I could see is if Toronto gets eliminated again, you might see Marleau replace Thorin. Just veteran, bare minimum, whatever how much that costs. Go for one more round. And I know Marleau, big fan of Toronto, grew up liking Toronto Maple Leafs. I could see that being the only spot. But even then, that's a pretty big stretch just because of how he performed this season.
Yeah, and it's not possible to me. I mean, but guys, I think it's a major indicator that if Patrick Marleau is on this team next season, it goes to show you that they have absolutely nothing ready to go in the development system that's available to the big league team. Like, I get it. Ozzy Weisblatt's been with the Barracuda. He's looking pretty good. He had a great year with the Prince Albert Raiders in the WHL. I know a lot of us in the Discord chat are super excited about Thomas Bordeleau, and maybe even Tristan Robbins, who I think got called up to the AHL squad. So that'll be a big pickup, maybe for the Barracuda to begin their Pacific Division tournament run. But if Patty's on this team, and I love me some Patty. I just dropped off my jersey to get customized for a Patty jersey, But if Patty's on this team next season, that's just asking for trouble.
Yep.
So, John Bokalig, I hope I'm saying that right. Thank you very much for your super chat donation, thanking us for another fine year. We really appreciate you. We really appreciate each and every one of you. And we have 58 people watching. Tell your friends. Tell everybody. Let's get on here. Let's go. I would love to see, and only 18 likes. Let's pump that up. Come on. Let's go. I want more likes than the Vegas Golden Knights had shots on goal tonight. I mean, let's be real here. That's what's going to get you your wraparound tonight, all right? So you better make it happen. But third period, another pair of goals. Hey, at least Vegas is consistent in actually doing something. Sakura with his first 2 goals of the year, to kind of just throw more salt into the grave here for the Vegas Golden Knights. But enough about the Sharks for a moment. Al, I'll begin with you. Vegas. Are they coming out of the West? I know Colorado's right there, but is Vegas coming out of the West?
I think they're the most complete team. I think Avalanche is the most skilled team, so it would be an interesting second-round matchup. But they have solid 4 lines. They have, 2 goaltenders you can swap in and out that you can rely on. I'm really looking forward to that matchup in the second round.
Yeah, I think that second round will be ideal. I think it'll be great. How pissed off will the league be if St. Louis or Minnesota upsets either one of Vegas or Colorado?
Yeah.
So, all right. So that was pretty much it. Huge kudos to Marc-Andre Fleury, who somehow has recovered from the dagger injury he had during last season's bubble, and posted up another shutout. I mean, Vegas, wreaking the rewards of being able to play a season without worrying about their goaltender getting exposed in an expansion draft. It's going to be, and Ian's saying it right here, Vegas is going to be a tough out for any team they face. I hope they don't get a 5-minute power play. Just saying. But for the Sharks, yeah. It is an absolute putrid way to go into the season, go into the off season, losing 6-0, and Vegas sweeps the Sharks. I mean, Vegas is 8 against the Sharks. There were, and honestly, only 2 of the games were blowouts. 4-0 on March 6th, and then tonight 6-0. And the Sharks had a few leads in those, and but it's just another bitter bitter pill to swallow. Easy for me to say. But to finish 21, 28, and 7, you get only 49 points. It's frustrating.
If you came into this season with low expectations, because last year was more disappointing with all the injury concerns, you would hope that EK65 would be more consistent this year round. That didn't really see anything out. But honestly, it's going to be a tough stretch the next couple of years. What about you, Mark?
Yeah, I think this is easily a 3 or 4 year turnaround. I've said it previously. I came into the season with very low expectations, so this isn't like a dagger in my heart. Last year was way more bitter for me because I actually believed in that team a bit more, and I thought the youth would step up a bit more last year, and we saw that didn't happen. And while we have some glimpses of positivity from some of the young players, I still want to see a lot more there. So, yeah, I think what really was not embarrassing, but showing what this team is made of is right when we had that point in the middle of the season where we're on the cusp of the playoffs after a few wins, how we went on that terrible losing streak against the better teams when we, inevitably played them. And then also just finished the season with, I think, 3 wins in our final, 15 games, something like that.
God.
So it's just a horrible final stretch of the season.
The season was lost on April 6th when they lost against the Ducks 6-1. That was
string freaking ass goaltender.
And that was after they lost against LA twice. And then right after that, they lost to LA again twice. You could have made up serious ground in the playoff race. But this season, I think they've just been frauds all year. And I know that everyone's been putting decent effort all year, but if you're not going to support your goaltender, it doesn't matter who's in the net. It could be Martin Jones, it could be Evgeny Nabokov, right. It could be anyone. And the forward depth has just not done their job all year.
Yeah. I mean, you can go and pick through this team, quickly. Forwards didn't get the job done with goaltending or with goals. The defense didn't help their goaltender out much. The goaltending was horrific. I mean, if there's ever a message to send to Martin Jones that your effort isn't good enough, is having Koshinash play one of the last 3 games, having Melnichuk getting thrown at the Wolves to, the Coyotes and frickin' Phil Kessel scoring half of his goals against the Sharks, and and the Vegas Golden Knights, who were going to just be throwing everything at the net because they had something to play for. Now they sit and wait, wondering if whether or not Colorado's going to get it done. And it sucks because frickin' I'm looking at Koshinash, on the night, just 6 goals on 44 shots, a beautiful .864 save percentage. It's just frustrating. Mentioning, this season was lost when they lost 17 of 27 games and a 29th ranked power play. That kind of hits on the head too. They couldn't hold a lead. They dropped the choker tag, frickin'. They dropped the choker tag, when they made it to the Cup final. This season alone, they brought it back. 17 of 27. I mean, I know and Chris saying bad teams are bad, but damn, I didn't think we were this bad. And that's shame on me, but yeah. I thought they would at least compete a little bit better than this season.
The Sharks blew 13 leads this season.
17.
17. So 17 leads. Like if you just look at it like at half of it, like you get half those games back, maybe they're pushing for a third spot. Maybe they're pushing for a fourth spot. They had their chance and they just kept on blowing it.
Yeah, but even so, realistically, think about if this team found a way to have won some of those games and squeaked into the playoffs. I mean, is there any doubt they wouldn't be swept in a series by any of these top teams?
Yeah.
So yeah. I really think this team is exactly where they belong, and that is the bottom of the standings. Sure, there were a few games. I think a lot of these leads were probably in the first period too, if I'm guessing, because the second period is usually where we lost our game this year. But yeah, this team had no business making the playoffs. Even mid-season when we thought there was a chance, not that we were necessarily hoping for it, some of us, but that was mostly because other teams were struggling in a surprising fashion.
Yeah. John with the Super Chat donation. Thank you very much, bud. Thank you for being here all year. For me, it's not the lack of talent. It's the lack of pride in showing up to do your job. Kane is about the only one that improved. Timo LeBanc have not been focused. And kudos to Evander Kane for, for having an exceptional year when he could have not have an exceptional year. But then to go on to the second part of his comment here, Timo, hey, way to show up the last 3 of the last 4 games when you're virtually done. And we're wondering where the heck you were on the fourth line. Kevin LeBanc, yeah, you took the sweetheart deal last year. Thank you very much. This year, where'd you go?
I think he's been decent. He just hasn't been consistent enough. If you were to look at it as an 82-game season, it would equal out to what his contract is. So it is what Doug Wilson paid Kevin LeBanc to do. It's just Timo Meier is the bigger issue with the Sharks. And what they do with him is going to decide what the Sharks do for the next 5 years.
I do think LeBanc is adequately paid. But the issue for me is just I feel like he's underperforming. I think with his talent, the guy should not ever be less than a 55, 60-point player. And I'm talking doing that while also, playing good all around. Obviously, he's tailored towards the offensive end and power play, things like that. But I don't watch LeBanc on a nightly basis and think this guy's playing inspired hockey.
The analytics people will be like, hey, he hasn't been horrible, but yeah, he needs to step up on his offensive production. I mean, a 60-point season. I mean, roughly, jerk. Where's your math? I think it'd be roughly like 40 points, and it's frustrating to see that. And we haven't even mentioned the one that gets usually picked on it, and let's be honest, part of the reason why that we're in a rebuild of sorts, and that's Erik Karlsson. He had a nice stretch down at the end there, but again, it just needs to be better.
Yeah. I don't think you're ever going to get $11.5 million out of Karlsson. At this point, I think I'll be happy if we can get like an $8 to $9 million player out of him. I do think he improved as the season went on, but he's still just not at that level where you're talking franchise player, you're talking top 10 player in the NHL. And I think some of that comes down to the lack of depth up front. Guys like him and Burns are always going to somewhat suffer without a good or elite forward group. But you still expect to see more. $11.5 million the guy's getting paid. He should be one of the best defensemen in the NHL every single night.
And if you look at how Vegas structures their team, Alex Pietrangelo is only getting paid $8 million. They are forward setup, like, Alex Pietrangelo, $7 million. Like, most of their forwards are getting paid, but it's structured that you get 4 solid lines and they're consistently good.
And that's the funny thing, Al, is that they didn't have a full lineup in tonight. They only had 17 skaters. That just hit my head as you're mentioning that. They only had 17 skaters tonight, and they still destroyed us 6-0. I don't even know how much time on ice Mark Stone had, but I barely saw him out there tonight. And they still get destroyed. Like, my God.
Mark Stone is getting paid $9.5 million, and he's still young. Like, it is potentially one of the best contracts in the NHL right now. Even like Shea Theodore, $5.2 million. Like, they have gotten significant bargain deals that have set up the team for the next 5 years.
It's just something else. Jerk, thank you, bud. 8 of LeBank's 12 goals were high value goals. If we haven't experienced Jerk's goal value system, it's something to fathom, because I think it really goes to show you how key goals can be in certain places. So, so Chief scores when it matters, even if it's not as much as we want. Totally get that. Ian saying, Sharks were already mentally on their flights home. Yeah, Andy, man, even when they lost to Colorado, Vegas had 15 skaters 2 nights ago. I mean, that's just unfathomable, So, it's a module, Eric. Oh, excuse me. I call it an experience, but it's way better than a fanatic experience. Sorry. Jeez. Okay. So let's get to some of the comments coming out of the locker room before I get, beat up in the chat some more. From Boogner, the positive, we get to see some new faces, prospects, and restock the shelves. Being able to experience Marleau breaking the record was amazing. Just a good learning experience coming out of there. We had to take a step backward, now to take steps forward in the future. Next season will be a completely different set of expectations. Guys, let me ask you here, and Vlasic was adamant about competing for playoffs and competing for a cup next season. Did he have much poutine?
I think they're all just clueless. That's the only explanation I have. These guys are absolutely clueless. And they all seem to be buying into this idea too. So that worries me a little bit. I know they have to say a lot of these things for the media. You can't just outright say, yeah, we suck and we're going to suck next year. But at the same time, this overwhelming optimism following a season like this, I just don't get it.
Look, if they come in the start of the season with a good, solid stretch, maybe they can do it. But Arizona is moving to the Central Division. Edmonton, we're going to see more. And we're going to see Seattle more. Well, we're just going to see Seattle, period. But it's going to be a tough stretch for the Sharks. I think they're going to be one of the bottom teams for the next couple of years because the Ducks and the Kings have been getting better for the past couple of years, and their new talent is going to start making its way to the major leagues. It's only a matter of time. Like, this was eventually going to happen, but losing Arizona puts the Sharks in a precarious situation. So
you lose Arizona, St. Louis, Minnesota, and Colorado. You get back Seattle, which you really say, oh, they're an expansion team because we all know about how how money buys you almost a trip to a cup final. Uh, and then you also get McJesus. You also get Calgary. You're going to see
Yeah.
Bitter Beer Face. Bitter Beer Face. I'm Daryl Sutter. You're also going to get Vancouver coming back, and who knows what they're going to look like because they're hot garbage and about to lose their minds, even though they have a good young core that they're slowly building upon.
Yeah, I think the division actually will be a bit weaker next year than what we dealt with this year. But I do think Seattle actually has a better chance next year of being a better team than the Sharks do. I know that's a bit of a stretch, but after what we saw happen with the last expansion draft, unless GMs did learn their lesson, which I'm highly doubting, I can see Seattle still coming away with a very strong team.
I think they learned their situation with the GMs, but I think now because of everything that's happened with COVID and how everybody's tight against the cap, you're going to see those deals that Vegas got because of teams needing that extra money to get out from under. I mean, I don't think I know Vegas is exempt from the draft, but I mean, I would think they would like to play with a full 20 skaters on the night, or most nights, if anything.
Around the trade deadline, Doug Wilson said he was looking to acquire 2 more draft picks. So currently the Sharks have 8. So around 10 was the number he said about. So unless there's a deal that's under the table right now, that's something to look out for during the offseason is who is getting traded. Is like Brent Burns getting moved for something.
And that's the adamant talk that keeps going around it with tonight. Yes, I mean, Patty Marleau may have played his last game as a Shark. He may have played his last game as an NHL player. But you also have, does Brent Burns get exposed? Do they sweeten the deal for them to take Brent Burns? I think it would be a little bit different if Seattle was in a different division. That'd be really tough to swallow for Sharks fans seeing Brent Burns in a different uniform. But granted, he is getting up there in age, guys. And it's going to come and hurt down the road. But the future is now for the Sharks, and it's going to be how they're going to be battling for spots next season. Booner goes on to say, I think Molosh will battle for a playoff spot or battle for a spot on this team next season. He could have had a great camp and beat someone out. Yarosh had looks, and of course Princeton. His compete keeps him around. DW. Go ahead.
I don't buy that. I don't buy that comment. I didn't think any of those guys looked like they were NHL ready for a full season. I actually, with the guy we just signed to his first deal today, Hataka, I'd be more surprised. I would be less surprised if he even came in and battled because of the style of play he has. And I don't see a huge future for those defensemen. They're all kind of maybe bottom pairing fill-in guys. Pashnuk maybe could become like long-term an NHLer. And he definitely has some bright spots, but I don't see where the coach is saying that these guys are going to jump in next year and be entirely different players.
I mean, that's what we were expecting from Shimolovsky and Chukovich, with coming into 2019-20, where those were the guys that were coming up to be the guys to help us out. Didn't happen, and then there was a scramble. Moving on, where Doug Wilson said earlier in the week, the areas we need are goaltending and the third center spot. But we also think we've positioned ourselves during the expansion year to be able to identify and add pieces we think we need going forward. So, goaltending, boys. I don't know if that's an indication that the buyout's going to happen for Joner or not, but I mean that seems like, that seems like that's kind of waiting in the wings per se.
If the Sharks want to compete, I think they should keep Jones, which it's gonna make a bunch of people pissed. But sitting him for the past 3 games is not a good sign. And I think the writing is obviously on the wall that a buyout is definitely coming. But this season isn't Jones' fault. It's the defense not playing right, and the forward depth just not working towards clearing out the pucks. We've seen time and time again where the Sharks have possession and they just can't clear the zone.
Yeah. So adding to that, I do agree that this season is definitely not Jones' fault. I mean, this is a complete team failure this year. But that being said, I don't see how the franchise can really justify giving Jones, a fourth chance now? The guy, to me, looks done. And I think the end of the season treatment with the young goalies is definitely a sign of that. But Jones, at his best this season, was a good NHL goalie, but that was a very short period of time. There's a longer period of time here he was average or far below average, and you just can't move forward as a franchise, especially if you think you're going to compete. I think with him in net.
Yeah, I mean, you need to improve net minding. I think it sends a message, big time, when you blow a 4-2 lead to Colorado when you are already just on the cusp of being eliminated from the playoffs, and let a squeaker go through, losing the game 5-4. The coach is basically calling you out, and and sends a bigger message of them all, saying, "Yeah, I'm going to go with 2 unknown rookies to play the final year."
Yeah.
So that's where it is, folks, right now. With that, down the road, you're going to have a bunch of other guys. I mean, Knizhov was supposed to go to the World Championships. He's going to have surgery on Friday on something. Melnichuk played his heart out, was battling with the rest of the boys. He'll learn from it and come back stronger. My dad told me no matter the score, how cool was it to play with Marleau from Brinson Pasenchuk. Continuing on here, from Knizhov, there were a lot of ups and downs. I was blessed to stay in the lineup all year, try to learn from my mistakes, and I'm just happy with the way it worked out for me this season. I mean, guys, let's try to be a little positive here. Who out of the youngsters, and I would probably say it's going to be Knizhov, who out of the youngsters showed you something to kind of get excited about going into camp next year?
Yeah, I agree with that. Knizhov was probably most surprising for me because I still don't think a year or two ago anyone saw him being an NHL player. There were a few scouts who highly rated him or just had good things to say about him, but his development into being a reliable defenseman has been a huge plus this season.
Bugner going on and saying, "I told the guys we can't get anywhere unless our best players are our best players." Wow, he's been listening to Morning Tide. Be ready, be in shape, and let's go next season. Are you implying that they weren't ready and in shape this season? I mean, yeah, they had to start in Arizona. They had to move everything out to Arizona. I get that. And I get that can be a reason why things struggle, and the whole 12-game road trip to start the year was a thing. But I mean, that almost seems like, what, you guys weren't ready?
I mean, the Sharks had their chance. If they would have just been They've done most of their damage against bad teams this season. Ducks, Wild, Kings. That's where a majority of their points have come this season. Like Mark said, like they just haven't competed well against the top teams in the league. And maybe it might get easier next year just because the divisions are going back to normal. But yeah,
It'll be tough. It'll be tough either way. I mean, it depends. It depends on, hopefully Canada is all set and ready to go. So I just hope that they are able to come back strong, give a better effort. I think we all know that they're not going to make that. They probably won't make the playoffs next year. But give a damn. I think is more. Give a damn. So, all right. With that, there's part of me that's like, man, I'm gonna be bummed. There's no more Sharks hockey this season. But then, guys, there's a little bit of me that says like, thank God this season's over.
I hope that it gets easier next year. Again, it's a full season next year. More rookies are going to see the ice next year, of course. But I still have major concerns with Bob Boughner about is he the right coach for this team? He used to be the Florida Panthers coach, and honestly, like you see what they're doing right now, I still think there should be some sort of hot seat for him right now.
For Boughner, you're saying?
Yep.
I actually agree. Yeah.
I think there were times where I think the give a damn meter kind of just fell apart. And honestly, DGAF. And I think it showed tonight, honestly. But there's a little of me that kind of looks over at Florida, looking at, hey, they're about to go into the playoffs. And all of a sudden they look like a team out of nowhere, and that's coaching, and that's the former place that Boughner coached at. So I think there's some heat on Boughner. If it's not from the team, I think it's from him personally to improve this team, to improve his ways. But he needs better players. I think that's easier said than done, and he needs the players that are going to be here to be even better than they were. So.
Yeah, I think it's tough to judge him based on this team and this lineup, but it's just weird to see. I mean, the Sharks didn't go through any formal, I think, interview process with coaches or bringing in other coaches. We pretty much just handed the job to him after getting rid of DeBoer. And then you look at, like I said, or Al said, Florida's been better since he's been gone. True, they've added a lot of other pieces, but
right.
I don't see evidence that he's necessarily the coach who should be carrying us through this transition right now.
Yeah. Chester Chiva coming in with a hot take, and Chester has been around since the beginning of our program, so it's good to see you, Joshua, in here. But saying this team has no fight, no heart, no guts. They don't play like they care about fans. They look like a group of guys that are only out there for a paycheck. It can look that way to some people. And that's the frustrating thing, because this is a business in the long run, they need to sell tickets. And you look at the Bay Area landscape, and we talked about this before. The Giants are in first place. The A's, although they are struggling like crazy and now have those relocating rumors going around like a plenty, have been playing well. The Warriors are the Warriors. They have a brand spanking new arena. The Niners they have, they had a rough year, but they still look like they're going to be a contention. The Sharks have a losing record for the second year in a row. They aren't going to the playoffs. There was just nothing right now, and they need something to get butts in the seats. And yes, I'll be there opening night. Hopefully, we're doing the show opening night from the bar overlooking Santa Clara Street and having a good time. But I hope there's a full barn that night and beyond that. So,
yeah.
All right. We do we actually get to the shots on goal mark? We had at 40. Come on, people. One more. Otherwise, I got to break out Shorthouse, and my gosh. Actually, no.
Oh, God. I'm going to just do it just for the hell of it. Make him stop.
It's close enough. It's 40. We'll do it. Oilers win in overtime 4-3. Cahoon with the game winner. Connor McJesus, 104 points. Something special. There we go. 44. Thank you. We did it for that. Toronto loses in overtime 4-3. San Ramon native Austin Matthews gets his 41st in a losing cause. Josh Norris, his 17th of the season on that one. Golden Knights 6-0 over the Sharks. Yeah, whatever. You know what else was 6-0 tonight? The Avalanche win 6-0. Jonas Donskoy with the game-winning goal in there with a crazy game as the Avalanche and Golden Knights trade 6-0 shutout wins in there as they battle for the West Division title. And then finally, Blues win 4-0 over the Minnesota Wild. Barbashev Schwartz, Perron, and Torrey Krug with goals in that one. So, and telling us how horrible I am. All right. So that'll do with the reach around on this night. So, as we move along here, what's going to happen next for the Sharks? Well, the June 2nd, we'll find out if we have the magic combination of the draft lottery ping pong balls. That'll tell us where the Sharks are at. They are currently have the 8th best odds, but with Calgary, LA, Vancouver, the Canucks. The Canucks being with the next thing. Hey, there we go. Hey, get Puck Guy a new cable. Wow, he's so wonderful. All right. July 21st, the Seattle expansion draft. That's when the Kraken will take one player off of our roster. We'll see how that works. We'll get into more of that. Hey, watch Spitologists. They'll tell you how wonderful that'll be. The 23rd and 24th, the NHL Entry Draft will be taking place, and that's when we'll find out who the Sharks will get. So, we'll get on to that. Late July, we will eventually find out how we're going to plan our lives for the next 12 months after that. And then July 28th, free agent frenzy. So that will do it for that. So there you go. That's kind of your plan coming up. We'll be covering all of this throughout the off season. We can't control ourselves. We just love watching the Sharks and rooting for the Sharks and talking about the Sharks because, honestly, if you want to talk about Steph Curry ankle supporters, well, that's what you got radio for. You have us. So, with that, I think it is time to wrap things up. Mark, considering it's, Fallon and Colbert, thank you very much for joining us over in the Eastern Time Zone. Your final thoughts and where the people can find you.
Of course, it's always great to be here. Final thoughts: the Canucks have a few games left. everyone should root for them because the Sharks can still move up one spot. With the Senators winning today, we've locked in at least the top 8 pre-lottery for the draft. So everyone should root for the Canucks in their final few games, and let's get all excited for the draft lottery next month. And you can all find me on Twitter at MarkSJS.
Thank you very much, Mark. If you ever need an XLR cable, there's the link for it right there. Al Martinet, buddy, thank you very much for joining me on here for a number of things, so we can.
Hey.
So, your final thoughts on where the people can find you.
First and foremost, thank you to everyone who has donated. Thank you to everyone who has watched this season. It means a lot. Love talking hockey. I know this season has sucked, but it's really just been great talking with everyone at Teal Town. I do want to do a special shout out to everyone at the crew: Kevin Lacey, Eric Landy, AJ, Hockey Jerk, Rocket, and of course Puckeye, Mark. You guys have been all great this season. Yeah, I mean, we've already been through this freaking team all year, but just keep on watching. If you're a hockey fan, I know things are going to be tough right now, but if you started watching the Giants in 2008, it is super emotional to see that pay off later on. So keep the faith, and I know it's kind of hard right now, but keep the faith.
Appreciate it, Al. Chester Chiva with the $1.99 super chat donation. Buy yourself a doggy coin or two. You'd have to say that to my Doge. Who the fuck cares?
Doge. It's Doge.
Fuck
Don't say
cryptocurrency.
doggy coin. We're not. No,
fuck that. If I'm gonna fuck everything up like everybody says I'm fucking up, I'm gonna fuck it up. With my 14.4 modem. All right? I don't give a fucking shit. All right? Now with that, I have a few things I want to thank. As much as he's just roasting me right now because, they think they're all great and wonderful. AJ, thank you for doing what you've been doing and everything. Hockey Jerk, even though you've been roasting me up since, earlier tonight when he asked me to, when I asked when the draft lottery is, he sent me a link for google.com. There's that. So thank you. Rocket, thank you very much, my dear, for everything. And, to Eric Landy for letting me, giving me some nights off. I appreciate you, bud. Going down the list. Mark, thank you. I am looking forward to your draft coverage. Al, thank you. I know you do a lot of these, before you have to go into work at 1 a.m. So it's more, your schedule is more weird than a Christian Ehrhoff slap shot. It's just way out there. Felix, I know you had a rough go with it, with school and everything to try and get in there. And to everybody else, Landy, I'm losing my mind because you guys have, made me fucking lose my fucking mind tonight because you guys are all fucking things up for me. I really appreciate it. Each and every one of you. When we started this 7 years ago, didn't think it would be with it. And the best part is that, we get to do this with some of the most passionate fans in the Sharks fan base that actually give a damn. Not going around making fun of people, retweeting idiots, restart, we had a parody account made out of us this year. I mean, that should tell you something. Kevin, I look forward to more Barracuda coverage. We may or may not do a Barracuda After Dark for the freaking Pacific Division playoffs. So, appreciate that. And to all of you, 2,300 subscribers. When we started this thing, we were probably talking to like 4 people and frickin', Laurel, I think. But to some of our regulars, Jerry F., Chester Tivo, Laurel, who's been the moderator pretty much since day one, to all of you that have been here, whether you found us now, whether you're like, subscriber 22.99 or found us, years ago and went on that magical journey, for the 2016 run. Just remember, this is the playoffs. The playoffs and the regular season, it's just a big old freaking roller coaster ride. And no matter where you're at, whether you can handle it or not, whether it's a dinky little, easy little ride, which some seasons are, where they can, coast into the playoffs, or you freaking get on the combination. I mean, picture a combination of drop zone and the Incredicoaster at California Adventure in Anaheim. It's been fun. It's been fun. It's why I put up with all the shit I take. It's why I keep getting, AOL frickin' jokes. All over time. And sometimes I'm going to just lose my frickin' mind. So, with that, I'll get out of here. Sunday night, Technologists will probably do a better job than I have on this program, breaking down the season and get you ready for the playoffs and everything. We'll be covering everything on the draft lottery when the Sharks win the draft lottery. We'll cover that and everything in between. I know AJ might want to do a show with me when we find out the schedule, so we'll see about that. But again, 56 games. It's rough. It's been fun. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world right now. Even though frickin' the Sharks lost 6-0. I mean, Sharks, for the love of God, please get this ship turned right. Come on. There are Sharks fans that just frickin' want to have a Stanley Cup. And yeah, it's going to take a while, but stick with it and stick with us. I appreciate each and every one of you. And so until then, keep it real, keep it teal, keep it real teal. Have a great night, everyone. We'll see you Sunday for Technologists and everything down the road in the off season. Have a great night, everyone.